Perfect. Thank you both for joining us. I'm Danielle Gahn. I'm the Executive Director here at the Birch Bay Chamber of Commerce. Today we are joined by Fire Chief Jason Veen. He's going to share some information with us about the upcoming Levy Lid Lift request on the August 6th ballot. Just a couple of housekeeping notes. This is being recorded. Go ahead and just mute your microphones during the presentation. If you've got any questions, you can use the hand icon and we'll do a question and answer at the end. If you'd rather type your question, you can use the chat box at the bottom and I'll read those out to the group. So unless we've got any other questions, Jason, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you very much, Danielle. My name is Jason Vanderveen. I'm the Fire Chief for North Whatcom Fire Rescue. I've been the chief here since 2020. And tonight, thank you for joining us. And we're going to talk about the Levy Lid Lift proposition, which is on the ballot that's due on August 6th. I have a short video to show you, and then about a 10 or 15-minute PowerPoint presentation, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions at the end. So let's go ahead and get started here.
Hello, I'm Chief Jason Vanderveen with North Whatcom Fire Rescue. We're asking voters for a fire levy lid lift in the August 2024 primary election because our current fire levy is not keeping up with the higher call volumes and costs to provide emergency services. Our call volumes have almost doubled in the last 10 years, and calls for medical emergencies now account for 71% of all of our calls. Additionally, overlapping calls, multiple calls that come in at the same time, are happening more frequently, 30% of the time. This is leading to longer response times. We need additional personnel to respond to calls. The Levy Lid Lift would hire 8 emergency personnel and allow us to staff a new aid unit to respond to medical emergencies. Right now, when emergency personnel are out of service transporting a patient to St. Joseph's Hospital in Bellingham, we must rely on mutual aid due to staffing level shortages. This can delay response times for other emergencies that come in during this time. We need to reduce our reliance on mutual aid and improve our staffing levels at our own fire stations so we can get to you as quickly as possible and relieve the burden on mutual aid agencies. The Levy Lid Lift would also fund the replacement of an aging ladder truck and 3 fire engines to ensure service reliability when responding to calls. It would also help us replace Station 63 in Birch Bay. This nearly 50-year-old station is not capable of safely housing firefighters anymore. The flat roof has multiple significant leaks. The station was not built to withstand an even moderate seismic event, and it doesn't have appropriate dorm and locker room facilities for today's mixed-gender firehouse. The station also lacks a desperately needed community gathering space to host open houses, provide community groups with a place to meet, and offer other public educational programs such as fire safety, CPR, and prevention classes. Together, these improvements will help reduce response times and ensure service reliability when responding to calls. You can learn more at our website, nwfrs.net. Feel free to reach out to me by phone or email. Thank you for your partnership in keeping our community safe, and thank you for watching.
So, as I said before, this evening we're here to talk about the Fire Levy Lid Lift, which has been placed on the August 6th ballot by the commissioners of Whatcom County Fire District 21, which is also known as North Whatcom. Just a few kind of background slides about who we are and what we do. North Whatcom Fire Rescue provides fire and life safety services to about 34,000 people over 156 square miles. We serve the communities of Blaine, Birch Bay, Semiahmoo, Custer, Laurel, and the areas surrounding Linden. On this map, we are the green area. The pink in the middle there, the hole in the donut, I call it, is the city of Linden. They have their own department, but we respond to the rural areas around the city of Linden. As well, we also serve the residents of Whatcom County Fire District 4, which is this orange area southeast of the district, which butts up to Lake Whatcom. We serve them through a contract agreement. We've done that since 2011, and they raised their levy rate. They raised their levy lid last year in order to be able to keep up with the costs of doing business. So what we do, simply, we provide fire suppression or fire EMS, emergency medical services, fire prevention and public education to the communities we serve. And mostly when it comes to fire prevention and public education, that happens through the schools. We serve the Blaine School District, the Ferndale School District, Linden School District, and the Meridian School District. We are accountable to our taxpayers. We are debt-free. We've operated under a balanced budget every year, and we've passed all of our financial and accountability audits by the state. Those reports are on the state auditor's website. If you go in there and search Whatcom County Fire Protection District 21, all of our past audits will pop up. They have everything. You can dive into the deep page by page audit, or they have simple kind of report cards that you can look at to see how we were graded over the past years. North Whatcom, we opt into being audited every other year instead of every 4 years. We just feel like it's just better to have that accountability there. In 2023, the fire district responded to just over 5,700 calls. Those are split pretty evenly between the stations. 71% of those are medical aid calls, and about 30% of the time we've got multiple emergencies happening at the same time. That primarily happens in the Blaine, Birch Bay, and Semiahmoo area, which is where our population is really centered. And what that means is that, like, the station on Birch Bay Linden Road, Station 63, will be out on an aid call, and then the station in Blaine will end up going on an aid call as well, and that's what we call station failure, when the district has, in a reasonable response time, the district has no available units. What happens when that scenario occurs is we call in units from other areas. It may be Linden, it may be Fire District 7, which is located in the Ferndale area. It could be our aid car from Laurel. Having worked at that in downtown Laurel at Station 69 there, I can tell you it's a long haul from Blaine, or from Laurel to Blaine, for an aid call. It's not ideal, but we're using the resources we have. One thing that all the fire chiefs in Whatcom County have done is we've dropped the borders between districts in order to help each other. We're not the only district facing this problem, facing the challenges we have. So we share resources back and forth, but bottom line is those aren't our resources, and we can't count on them like we can count on our own. How emergency services are funded in the state of Washington for fire districts. Fire districts and cities are different. A fire district is funded through a tax levy on property taxes, or property tax levy, and it is capped at $1.50 per thousand of assessed property value. That is the max that voters can approve. Voters last approved a fire levy rate of $1.42 in 2006. Since then, the levy rate has dropped to 76 cents. And a lot of people have questions about how that levy rate drops, and I'll address that in an upcoming slide. We as a fire district are allowed to collect a set amount of revenue each year. The state law limits us to that amount, which is our previous year's budget plus 1%. So if our previous year, I'll use a recent year as an example, if our tax revenue, which is what we call property taxes, was $6.5 million, the commissioners can elect to increase that by 1%, so $65,000 for the following year. We do get new construction as well, and that equals out to about 1%, somewhere between 1 to maybe 0.5% each year. So our budget grows about 1 to 2% per year. That's how the levy rate falls as property values rise. The reason that the levy rate falls is that when we submit our budget to the county assessor's office figures out, okay, this is their total budget. This is the assessed valuation of the district. And they drop the levy so that everybody gets charged the correct amount. They don't want to leave it at $1.42 and then try to charge everybody. Well, but they only actually get 76 cents per thousand. So they don't leave the levy rate where it's at. They dial it down each year as property values rise. And we all know, just friendly reminder that I'm not the assessor. We all know that our property values have risen quite a bit in the last few years. But our property tax can only go up, or our revenue can only go up 1% plus the cost of new construction, which averages out to about 1.5% to 2% per year. Total revenue increase. This is called levy compression, and it impacts our abilities to provide emergency services because we don't have the same purchasing power. We don't have the same, we're not able to keep up with inflation. It's like, be like having a job and getting a 1% raise each year. It makes things very difficult to plan for. A common question I get is, do my property taxes increase by the same percent as my home's assessed valuation? And the answer is no. We can only increase our revenue by 1% more per state law. Any amount higher than that, which is why the resolution or the proposition is on the August 6th ballot, must be approved by the voters. In this case, we are asking to raise it more than 1%. So the state law, which is Initiative 695, which was originally the $30 car tabs back in 1999, this 1% limitation was a rider to that. That means that if your property values rise by double digits, we, the fire district, can only collect 1% more per year without an approved increase by the voters. So revenue's not keeping up. Like I said, it's like getting a 1% raise every year. Fire levy has fallen from $1.42 to 76 cents. The 1% revenue increase, it's just not adequate to meet the needs that the district has in order to be provide service to the community. Some of the challenges we're facing, call volumes have doubled in the last 10 years, just about doubled. If you've lived here for any period of time, you know the population's grown, and we've just got more people. EMS calls alone have increased almost 50% and now account for 71% of our calls. And I would add there that the complexity of the calls has increased as well. We're asking our firefighters and EMTs to be social workers, to be primary care physicians, to be nurse practitioners. They're being used for a lot of different kind of calls, mental health counselors, those kind of things. It's not simply medical aid calls. They're really going on a wide variety of incidents. For those in the Blaine Birch Bay Semiahmoo area, the other thing we're up against is just our distance from St. Joseph's Hospital. So when the crews go to transport somebody to the hospital, they can be out of service, or they can be busy on that transport for almost 2 hours. And that increases the response times for other emergencies that happen during these calls. People often ask, how can they be out of service, or how can they be gone for 2 hours? Well, they respond to someone's house and they spend 15, 20 minutes, 30, maybe 30 minutes stabilizing the patient, getting a good patient history, making sure that the patient is appropriate to be transported, load them into the aid car, drive 30 minutes to the hospital, 25, 30 minutes to St. Joe's. They spend about 10, 15 minutes giving a report to the nurse, getting the patient settled in bed. They spend about another 10 to 15 minutes cleaning the aid car so that they can go immediately back in service, decontaminating the aid car, and then a 30-minute drive back to their station. And you've got them gone for 2 hours. We don't count them back in service until they're north of the Grandview Road, because they're just not available. Responding from Bellingham, that's just too long of a response time. So all these factors increase response times during we have those concurrent calls. once again, for those people that live in the Birch Bay Blaine Semiahmoo area, we're all aware of the challenge that the train causes us. Delays by the train. There are certainly during transports, they get delayed by the train. Responding to calls, they get delayed by the train. Mutual aid units coming in or paramedic units coming in get delayed by the train. The train is it's a constant challenge. And it sounds like in the Blaine area with the Bell Peace Portal crossing, there might be some relief coming. I hope to see that someday. I'm not holding my breath. That's not going to happen in the next year. And bottom line is we need to be able to adequately staff our stations with our personnel, respond to our calls, and rely less on mutual aid, which it's, as I said, it's not our resource. It's freely shared. It's not our resource, and it does take longer to respond to the calls. In addition, the station in Birch Bay, on Birch Bay Linden Road there, it needs to be replaced. It is serve the community well, but it is got a flat roof in the northwest, and the roof is beyond repair. It's brick. It's got a lot of water seepage, and with the freeze thaw cycles we have, it's leaking. It's not seismically safe. It's not set up for mixed gender crews that we have in the fire service now. There's one ladies' room. It's in the foyer, the entryway. It's not the one thing I would ask you to remember is the firefighters live in those stations a third of the year. That's their second home. And in talking to our female firefighters, it's not home. There's a lot of it's not very welcoming. Additionally, one of the things we'd love to be able to offer is a community gathering space, which is something that we were able to in the past, but due to the condition of the building and just the growth of the size of equipment, the amount of equipment we have, we've had to take over our training room. And so the dream for a new station is to have a place where the community can gather, a dedicated community room in the station. That's something I think Birch Bay is really lacking. We need to replace some of our equipment, a ladder truck and 3 fire engines. They've reached the end of their serviceable life. And when those type of apparatus start to reach the end of their serviceable life, it starts to affect our homeowners insurance, our insurance rating and things like that. The cost for apparatus has absolutely skyrocketed. When I came into the chief's office or into the office in 2019, you could buy a fire engine for $650,000, $700,000. The latest bids we're getting are $1.2 to $1.3 million, and it takes about 30 months for them to get built because of a lack of manpower in the manufacturing sector. A ladder truck is going to cost at a minimum $2 million. And as I said, they're reaching the end of their serviceable life. In order for us to get them in time, these are things we need to move on, and those take funds. So bottom line is, what will this cost? We're asking voters for a levy lid lift of 34 cents per thousand. That would increase the levy, or the levy rate 76 cents to $1.10. That would cost the homeowner of a $500,000 home an additional $170 per year, or $14.16 per month. We got the $500,000 average through the county assessor's office. That's the average in our district. What will the levy fund? It will allow us to hire up to 8 emergency personnel over the next 6 years to respond to higher call volumes. That will be an additional aid car that we would be, the first time since 2007, we'd actually be adding an additional response unit. That unit would be stationed at Station 62, which is in Semiahmoo. That would help with those concurrent calls in the Birch Bay, Blaine, Semiahmoo area. It would help us fund the replacement of Station 63 in Birch Bay without having to run a separate bond issue. And it would help us replace emergency apparatus that's reached the end of its usable and serviceable life. The election date is August 6th, coming up here next Tuesday. And I just encourage everyone to vote. Thank you for taking the time to get educated on this topic. And I am absolutely available for questions, phone calls, comments anytime. Um, as well as we have on our website, we've got a FAQ section and the ability to kind of look at some more documents and data. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and stop the screen share and give Danielle the power back, and I'm happy to take any questions or comments or.
I just put a couple of links there in the chat in case anybody doesn't know where our Dropbox locations are for ballots. There is one at the fire station there. There's also one up at the Blaine Library, but you can find a map there for that. And then there's other information about the upcoming election in the second link that I provided there as well. Does anybody have any questions? If you just want to use the hand icon to raise your hand, that'd be great. Not seeing any. The one question I had, Chief Vanderveen, was, will you be able to provide any additional trainings and services for the firefighters and crew that you have that are now doing additional services when they're out in the field helping?
You mean with as far as the funding will help with additional training kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, you had mentioned that your crews are doing so many different tasks than they had been doing previously, and that we're asking more of them. Will there be an opportunity for more trainings to help them do those jobs?
That's the goal. Training has been a struggle for us. We've gone through, like any department right now, the fire service is going through a change. And so we're having a lot of people are retiring earlier. And so our trainers tend to be older, more senior members. And so we've been kind of had a lack of training for the last couple of years. We've had to outsource a lot of things. The goal is to, as we grow a new generation of firefighters, is to hopefully rekindle some of that excitement and be able to bring in some of those new trainings. It is the crews do a great job of sourcing their own training and kind of becoming subject matter experts and then sharing that with each other and other stations. But yes, the hope is by resetting the levy, by doing a levy lid lift, it will give us some breathing room in all areas and allow us to, as well as bring training to the community. North Whatcom does offer free CPR classes to the community. We just trained some additional CPR instructors. And another reason why a community type space would be nice to have in Birch Bay. Currently, we offer those at Station 61 in Blaine on Odell Road. But yeah, we do try to offer training to the community as well.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any other questions? Not seeing any. My final one is maybe a little bit the cart before the horse, but do you have a timeline on how long it would take to do the replacement on Station 63?
That's going to be a multi-year project, probably about 2 to 3 years once we really get started in earnest. Frankly, we're waiting to see the outcome of the levy before we decide how to move forward. Bottom line is that station has to be replaced. We're hoping by doing it, by wrapping it into the levy, we can wrap it into operational funds, like our recurring budget, with, like I said, without having to do a special bond measure. So I will have a better answer for you after August 6th or maybe August 15th or so. But it will be a multi-year. It will be it takes about 3 years to design and build a fire station.
Perfect. Well, if nobody else has any additional questions, I will thank you all for joining us. We've got the sand sculpture competition happening in Birch Bay this weekend, followed that's Saturday, and then the rollback weekend car show. And then on August 6th, we will be doing National Night Out in the Birch Bay Beach Park as well. So join the fun in Birch Bay. Thank you, Jason. I really appreciate you giving us this presentation and this information as well.
Thank you for your time and for the invite to do this. Thank you very much.